You know, it's just a few hours to go before the Sydney Swans take on Collingwood tonight. I'm wearing my Sydney Swans cufflinks here. Go you Swans tonight, round 1 AFL. Now, that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about all things jobs and employment. This is P2P Live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X. And my name's Mark Smith, and I am Group Managing Director of People to People in Australia and the UK, and for Recruitment in New Zealand. So this is P2P Live, where we're going to talk about everything jobs and employment. Lots to talk about today. We have the stat of the week, which this week we're going to have a quick look at the immigration rates and the type of visas that people are coming in, because working holidays and working holiday makers are a very important part of the jobs and employment landscape in Australia. So we're going to explore that also with Shab from our Sydney team, where she's got a webinar for all those people looking to undertake a working holiday in Australia next week. So we're going to learn more about that from her. We've got 2 jobs in Australia. We've also got a job across the ditch in New Zealand. And of course, we have an opportunity in the UK as well. So much to talk about. Oh, I nearly forgot the results of last week's X poll as well. So stay tuned for that one. Let's jump into this week's stat of the week. Now, immigration is an important part of the jobs and employment landscape in Australia. And what we thought we'd show you today is the net migration over the last few years. There's been a lot of talk about this recently, particularly in relation to other economic conditions that are outside jobs and employment, things like rents and the like. And I thought this graph from the ABS what really demonstrates what we've lived through. So clearly you can see the COVID effect and the lockdown. So the blue line is arrivals, the dark line is departures, and the yellow line is matching my jacket, actually. So the yellow line is the net migration. So you can see that from COVID, there was a net loss of people from Australia from the middle of 2020 through to really the end of the second half of 2021. Since then, though, there's been a large and dramatic increase or return to migration levels. So you can see that it's been the highest that it's been in 10 years at nearly 600,000 or nearly 700,000 arrivals, and in terms of the net migration, it's about 500,000 people. So that definitely has an impact on the jobs market and the availability of talent. So let's have a look at the visas that those people are coming through on. And the colour that we want to look at here is the temporary visa. Now, this includes working holiday makers. And you can see that there is a huge increase in 2022-23 on people arriving or into Australia who are on these temporary visas. For us at People to People, we place many working holiday makers into roles throughout Australia and New Zealand, and the reverse, as those who go to the UK as well on working holidays. In Sydney and Melbourne specifically, we place a lot of people into white-collar positions, but also some supply chain roles as well. And because that's such a large part, we also encourage people to register with us and to, it's like a migration as they migrate up the east coast from Sydney up to Byron Bay, Brisbane, and then into North Queensland there as well. So it does have a major impact, and in 2023, as you can clearly see, 72.5% increase, and that's this week's stat of the week. hot jobs in Australia. And good morning, Timor-Leste as well. I can see Adelaide has just put a comment on LinkedIn, so good morning there. Here's the first opportunity. It's a safety advisor in Frankston in Victoria. It's temporal. It's paying $50 to $55 an hour, where you'll be assisting with the development and implementation and enhancement of health and safety management systems. You need to have experience within high-risk industries, formal qualifications in health and safety. The person you need to speak to is Michelle Eunice in our Melbourne team. That's Michelle at people2people.com.au, or you can give her a call on 1300 121 727. Of course, we have the QR code on the screen there, or on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, you can quickly jump onto the links and learn more about the opportunity and apply directly from those links on those different platforms there. Here's the next opportunity. And it's a legal assistant. It's a permanent role from our Perth team in WA. And this particular role is paying $90,000. It's diary management and maintaining files, drafting letters and other correspondence, whilst also processing billings for this particular partners, I should say, within the law firm there. You need to have experience as a legal assistant, and particularly with hourly billing. You need to speak to Phoebe from our Perth team. That's Phoebe at people2people.com.au. The number 08 6160 6203 if you want to go old school. Or you can hit the QR code or any of those links in the comments there. And Janellis, good morning as well. Not sure where you're from, but on LinkedIn, I can see your comments there as well. So welcome to P2P Live. So here's the next opportunity. Maybe you don't want to work in Australia. Maybe you're thinking, you know what, I'm going to take a working holiday and go to the UK. Well, we've got a role for you in Birmingham in the West Midlands in the UK. It's a private client solicitor paying £35,000 to £45,000, where you'll be dealing with all types of private client matters, wills, estates, trusts, tax planning, and responsible for assisting the department head in lead generation. So you need to have STEP qualification, STEP, and 1 year's post-qualification experience is required. If you'd like to learn more, then you need to get in touch with Alia Sipos from our London team. That's Alia at people2people.co.uk +44 2 3824 0975 if you want to jump on the phone. Of course, you can always do the links in the comments of Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And great that you're joining us from Perth, Janellis. That's fantastic. Now, maybe you're in Perth and you're thinking, you know what, that's a long way away from New Zealand and I'd like to go to New Zealand. And here's an opportunity in New Zealand from our sister company, Frog. And I've got a video, I think, for that one. Let's roll that tape.
If you're a health and safety advisor looking for a bit more variety in your role, or perhaps a change of scenery, I'm currently recruiting for a health and safety advisor for one of New Zealand's leading agricultural businesses. So within this role, you'll be looking after 4 different areas within the business, including the fleet management, the pack houses, the fields, and the food manufacturing warehouse. Ideally, I'd be looking for someone with more than 2 years health and safety experience in New Zealand, and then it would be a great bonus if you've got any experience working with heavy machinery as well. So the salary ranges from 80 to 85k. If you'd like to learn a bit more about this role, then just reach out to me and we can have a chat about it.
Now, we talk about a lot about working holidays and the opportunity that they present on P2P Live on Fridays, but we're going to go a little bit deeper and into what it actually all means with a webinar next week. So what we thought we'd do is have a quick chat to Shabnam from our Sydney team about that webinar, and when Shabnam starts speaking, you'll realise that she's probably experienced a working holiday. Shabnam, welcome to P2P Live. Tell us more about this webinar.
So People to People is excited to announce our first installation of its 2024 webinars, starting with our Working Holiday series, Finding a Job in Australia. If you're considering making the move to Australia on a working holiday, but are not sure what to expect or where to start, then this interactive webinar will be for you. Hosted by our People to People's New South Wales Director and Sydney Branch Manager, Bianca Luck, and our recruitment experts, 𝐻𝐿𝐴, 𝐬𝐷𝐿𝐴, and myself. This 1 hour webinar will look at where the key opportunities lie for job seekers, most common challenges working holidaymakers can face when getting ready to settle down in Australia, how to overcome them and find your next dream job. We will also take an in-depth look at the Australian market, getting situated in Australia, job search strategies, CV writing tips, interview preparation and cultural adaptation before conducting an interactive Q&A session so viewers can ask any follow-up questions they might have. It is next week, Wednesday, 20th of March at 12:30 p.m. AEST. To register, scan the QR code on the screen, click the link in the comments, or visit our People to People website.
Great, fantastic. So I can see that Jacob's just popped the QR code onto the screen there. We'll pop a link, I think, also in the comments there, so people can actually can register for the webinar. But clearly, you're Irish and you're here on or have been or experienced working in Australia. What do you think the biggest takeaway was for you coming over?
Takeaway coming to Australia?
What do you think? Biggest surprise, maybe? Maybe that's the best language.
Oh, gosh. Well, look, we always knew the weather was going to be good, but I came over in June and nobody prepped me for how cold it was going to be. Everyone's like, you think of Australia, you think of sun the whole time. That is not the case. So if you do definitely move over in like the colder months, pack heavily. Yeah. That is definitely one thing. I was tricked.
Do you think if you had a webinar like this, you would have jumped onto it?
Absolutely. We're gonna give some useful advice next week. So definitely, if you are making that move, do jump on. I've already had some LinkedIn connections reach out and saying that they're looking to move over to Australia. So did I have any tips? So I did tell them to log on to the event next week.
Perfect. And of course, clearly you know about the AFL.
Well,
now
not really.
Do you know what I'm even talking about?
Okay, I didn't know. So I actually went to an AFL game when I first arrived. It was my first week. I went to a Swans game, but I didn't know what the sport was. I had no clue what I was getting myself into. I thought, is it rugby or something like that?
What, are you asking me that question? Anyway. Clearly, if you're asking me that question, you have no idea.
I still don't fully know.
No, it's not. It's actually more closely aligned to Gaelic football, I think, in Ireland.
Yeah.
So,
you can hold the ball in your hands. That's it.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. So if you want to learn more about working holidays, then to chat more to Shab about what it means, then join the webinar next week. Jump on that QR code and make sure that you join the webinar. Thanks very much for joining us, Shab. Hopefully we'll get you back on P2P Live again soon. But let's now move on and talk about this week's Twitter poll and the result of last week's. So this is the question we asked. So we asked, to what extent do you feel your workplace is committed to diversity and inclusion? Well, 44%. Now, is it half? Yeah, a little bit of margin in there. Said no, not even interested. 45%, not committed at all. Somewhat around 30, and a full quarter are very committed. So that were the final results. I mean, what's your workplace like? We'd love to know what you have to think about this. So jump onto our socials on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, particularly if you want to engage into a conversation about our polls. Hashtag P2P Live. Let's have a look at this week's poll. Sorry, I should have said hashtag P2P Live Australia. My apologies there. So are you considering a move to Australia on a working holiday in the near future? Very relevant for today's live. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Jump onto X, onto LinkedIn, or any of other socials there, and we'd love to hear what you have to say. And if you've got any questions for Shab and the team for their webinar, pop them on there then, and we'll make sure we cover them off in the webinar as well. So that's it, everybody. Thanks for joining for P2P Live this week. We'll do it all again at 12:30 next week as well. And go the Swans.